Make no mistake about it. Jaws is not a horror film, it's not a thriller, it's a straight up comedy, and a masterclass at that. It's actually two comedies. The first is about a big city cop in an eccentric island community, which is a fish out of water comedy. The second is about three mismatched buddies messing around on a boat, drinking and hunting a large fish that's hunting them. It's hilarious to me that the fish has consciously given up the idea of eating people at the beach and instead wants to mess with these three guys on a boat. Jaws is an ultra-smart fish that Quint even admits to, despite his innate hatred for them after killing his army buddies when the SS Indianapolis was torpedoed. This led to Quint's terrible survivor's guilt, driving him to seek revenge or be taken alive in the same way that his army buddies were all those years ago. The first of the comedies is set in the picturesque New England beach resort town of Amity, where the hydrophobic New York police chief, Brody, had recently been appointed. When the crab-ridden and shark-shredded remains of a skinny-dipping tourist washes up on the shore, the police chief is certain that a man-eating shark is on the prowl, and no one else is concerned and are more interested in preparations for the annual 4th of July celebrations. The media flocks to the area and locals fall over each other to catch the shark and claim a $3,000 bounty, while the ingratiating mayor is only worried about publicity and how much money from the town coffers they will lose if the beaches are closed. By now the film is just a rowdy satire of a small coastal USA town, and when Richard Dreyfuss shows up as Hooper, an educated wisecracking Brooklynite, channeling his inner Woody Allen, things take a new direction. The second half of Jaws is much more fun than the first, when the boys get serious as the police captain, the marine biologist, and the army veteran shark hunter travel out into the murky waters to deliver the fish its fate. The police chief's wife asks him what she should tell their sons about the expedition. "Tell them I'm going fishing," he replies, which is exactly what the film turns into. The boys, turning into old salt sailors, enjoying themselves away from land life, now have the freedom to drink, tie knots, and compare scars, while John Williams' jaunty and astute music assures us that we're watching a rollicking maritime yarn. It's not long then before the shark breaches the surface and we get to see its dead eyes, like doll's eyes, but Spielberg is careful to lessen the impact of this shocking reveal, cutting away from the gaping maw almost before we've registered it. What we're shown instead is a comic reaction shot of Brody hopping to his feet. His eyes are wide, but his cigarette stays put. He then backs into the ship's bridge and mutters his most famous line, a line improvised on set: "You're gonna need a bigger boat," which isn't a funny line to me by today's standards, but back then I'm sure must have brought the house down. The sequence is hilarious to me because he has a cigarette in his mouth the whole time, and any labor done with a lit cigarette dangling out of the side of your mouth is inherently funny to me, especially when the labor involves a 3-ton shark chasing you. One of my favorite sequences in the whole film is when the two old salt fishermen attach a huge chunk of beef to the end of a chain tied to the rickety old pier, and when the unseen Jaws takes the bait, it tears the pier to shreds in hilarious fashion. Why is the shark so fucking pissed off, I wonder? Is it just doing its job as a shark? Does it hate fishermen or getting teased? These questions we'll never have an answer for. Another thing I love is the shark's expression on its face throughout the whole film. It is brilliant, especially in this picture. It shows the absurd hilarity of the film, especially when you think about it in the context of a bunch of guys out on the water, fishing and getting chased by a shark that wants to kill them and just won't go away. The true comedy in the film comes from the deadly tension created out of absurdity and the pressure that it puts on the audience, not via direct terror, but via suggestion of an unseen force. It's almost like when you're a kid, being naughty, and you know you're going to get caught for something. You can't help but laugh and think the whole situation is hilarious, despite the impending danger. The most hilarious scene in the whole film for me is when they shoot hooks into the shark that's attached to the non-submersible yellow barrels. And Jaws just swims around completely undeterred, fucking with them like it's a big joke. Then it starts towing the boat. A fucking shark tows the boat. It's comedy gold. A shark is towing a fucking boat through the water. It's absurd comedy at its best. And the fact that the shark just won't go away is truly comedic. Another funny scene I like is when Quint is furious with the fish and he cooks the engine, burning it out completely, trying to chase it down. I don't know why exactly that's hilarious to me, but any machine that fails under the misguided aggression of someone is just very funny. Have you ever heard someone trying to start their car, turning it over and over again in the hope that it will just magically start? It's the pathetic pursuit that's very funny to me. I rate the comedy writing of Jaws a 10 because nobody would ever sit down to write a comedy about a killer shark on the water hunting people. It just wouldn't work. The comedy wouldn't naturally flow out of that. It's just like when Kubrick adapted the novel for Dr. Strangelove. That was initially a very dark novel that was turned into a comedy and is brilliant because of that. Jaws is unique and it's hidden within the guise of a monster film. It's not a traditional comedy film and was intended initially, like the book, to be a thriller, but due to the rewriting, acting and circumstances of filming, turned out to be a straight comedy. Overall, the film is a complete masterpiece for hundreds of reasons. And I'm not here to be a film critic, I just wanted to highlight some of the funniest things to me about the film, and the fact that it is actually a comedy film, because I think most people think of it as a terror-filled monster movie. But in all honesty, I feel that it's one of the best examples of a straight comedy that we will ever have.